and I guess also at the stage, one not hindrance, but what I'm finding really difficult at the moment, as let's say a young artist, is I'm still ripening into my voice. So
Okay,
every
yeah.
year that goes by, I learn something new about myself, or I learn something new about the process, or something knocks me back, but then I bounce back. There's a lot going on, which then can be reflected in what my language looks like, or maybe I touch on another medium like film or script writing or something like that, and then I'm like, oh wow, and then that influences the language. There's so much change happening at the moment. So
Good afternoon, Kennedy.
hi, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Awesome. Not so bad actually. I feel calm today, which is nice.
Oh, that's great. It's so great to meet you here on Zoom.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for reaching out. I totally didn't expect this, so I'm a bit off guard. But yeah, thank you.
Oh, no, but you're doing amazing work, and it's so I would so love to know the story behind it and the story behind you and your company, and you're a dancer as well.
Yes, I am. Yeah, practitioner and teacher as well. So yeah.
Amazing. So, what was the inspiration to dance? I mean, when did you start dancing?
Yeah, I started dancing quite young. I can't really remember when it all began, because it's just memories of parties and family and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
But when it officially became something that I was interested in was when I heard about a musical theatre school called Kappa College. And this was in my high school phase. I thought I'll just, finish dancing at high school and then do something more serious. But then my cousin was like, "Hey, no, I go to this school, and you can sing, dance, and act." And I was like, "What?" I was I was blown away. So I asked my mom.
So you realized dancing was serious.
Yeah, it was. It's like I always knew there was something I could possibly do with this, but I never knew about going off to university or touring the country with a contemporary dance. I
Yeah.
never knew what that was. So I think just the knowledge that I could continue my studies after high school and just not do maths and science, but actually just keep singing and dancing, I was like, wow. So
Yeah.
probably around the age of 15, that's when stuff
Mm.
became really like.
But you are originally from Africa, like me. I mean, you're from Zambia.
I'm from Zambia. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And
That's my
how
home.
did you get from Zambia to the UK?
My father came here first, so he came to study accountancy, and he left my mother and myself behind. And he did that for a couple of years, 10 years, I think it was. And then he decided it's about time that the family were to come and join. So my mother came, who then was pregnant with my sister, and I got left behind because I was actually quite unwell. I had malaria at the time, so I couldn't travel for
Oh.
a year. But eventually I healed and I came in 2006. So quite a long time ago. But
Amazing, yeah. And how did you adapt to life in the UK? Because it's quite different from life in Zambia.
yeah, for sure. It was, I think, the first memory I have of being in this country was the education system when I got into primary school. And because I couldn't speak the language, I was in year 3. So, you're a kid, you can conversate, you have a brain. uh,
Yeah.
but communication was quite hard. So I remember just being in classes and not quite understanding, but I would often draw, and the teachers knew I liked art and drawing, so they would push for that. So when I couldn't understand with my ears, they would, make other ways for me to kind of like join in. And I guess
Wow.
over time, I was able to kind of fit in and catch on.
But how amazing that you actually this is now fascinating for me because it just shows you how important art is, that you can use art to communicate and to express yourself. And you've done that through drawings, but you're now doing it through dance.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think it was about like I don't know, there's something about identity there. Like I needed to find a way to kind of connect to the surroundings around me. And this primary school I was at, they had a lot of art competitions. So I remember when it got to year six, just before you got to high school, I would be like the runner up of every art drawing
Really?
competition because I loved it, and it's something that they pushed for, and helped me kind of like nurture. So yeah, you're totally right in saying that, that was a way for me to feel that I was able to kind of identify with this new space, and yeah, just as a young person, just be part of something. So yeah, I agree.
Amazing. Well, this is a fantastic story, because it helped you. But how amazing that the teachers saw that, and that they actually, I applaud teachers like that. If they can find a way for a child to communicate and then through art, it just shows you then how important that is.
Yes, I agree. Totally.
So, but dancing, did you already at a young age enjoy dancing?
Yeah. Alongside the drawing, I would also do the dance competition. So um,
Really?
I was obsessed with when it came to the big events. I would ask if I could get some people together and choreograph a big kind of
Mm.
piece. Like most people say, you get your either your siblings together and you make a dance for your parents, or you get your best friends. And I guess at that age, I was just like, I'm quite a confident person. I'm very yeah, I like to create stuff. I like to be at the forefront. So I used to make dances to like Take That or Michael Jackson, or
Yeah.
so I definitely knew it was uh, like in me, this kind of spirit for movement or just for artistic expression.
And performance. So you're a great performer if you can get people together and
Yeah,
and do a little show. And how important that's so important, because that's like a mini version of what you're doing at the moment.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like that was my foundation. That's what I can fall back on. Like when I'm struggling now, I'm like, wait, no. When I was like 6 or 7, I brought people
Mm.
together. There's no money or whatever, but I brought people together and we learnt the song "We Are the World" and we sang it in front of our assembly. Like that was a thing. So
Yeah, I see. Yeah. A friend of mine used to tell that her son used to go and buy vegetables at the supermarket, and then they realized he's selling vegetables from their garage.
wow.
And but that was a businessman. He saw the opportunity and and
Yeah,
and he did it. But that's the same thing. It's like it's something that is developed, I think, from a young age. So that's amazing that you do that.
I agree.
But okay, so and then you said that later on you realized that this is that something that you can do as a career.
Yeah, so yes, when I got to college, that's when stuff became really serious in terms of just my mind was just open to so many avenues because before I was just thinking about movement, but now I was introduced to singing. And then there was, I always sang, but then this was now musical theater, on stage, repertoire, West End shows. Like that was a whole like what? I couldn't believe it. And then also acting too. So we were forced to do all three. You couldn't just choose to do one. Um, which I thought was awesome because it gave me, a fighting chance to
Oh
to
yeah.
get to know, more than just what I thought I could do. And yeah, that then inspired me to join Phoenix Dance Theatre, which they had a youth company, and I did that alongside the National Youth Dance Company also. So this was when I was like, okay, I really want to dance. This was me at 16. Like I get what this is. I want to move.
But did you
Yeah.
have then a previous dance training? I mean, did you go for dance lessons?
I didn't, not in high school. I didn't. I just did the dance
Really?
course.
Mm.
So I was the guy who would be in the studios at lunchtime. Like every lunchtime, I wouldn't be on the field. I wouldn't be on the track. I wouldn't be with the boys. I'd be with my friends in the studio, break time and
Wow.
lunchtime. Like that was my training, which I didn't think was a bad thing. I knew my friends went to dance school afterwards, but for my family, that wasn't an option financially. My parents always said, "Look, we can't do that." Also, I would go to church on Saturdays, so that was also, dance classes,
But
competitions.
how I love this. I love this because it just shows you that if it's in you and you do the work yourself or you're self motivated, then that it is possible to do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Amazing.
I totally,
Yeah.
I agree with that. I need to remind myself of that every time.
Yeah,
Actually.
and we always assume everybody can, like you say, your parents couldn't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there are many people in the world who just they don't have these opportunities or they don't have the financial means to do it, and this is inspiring because it tells you that okay, so you didn't go the normal route that everybody, that all the dancers go start ballet at the age of 4 or whatever. So you're able to have a career and you're able to create and do all these wonderful things by not having that previous, the lessons and the background.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think because again, it has to do with that spirit. I always
Yeah,
think that dance is a spirit, and if you're the right vessel for it, and if you really want it and desire it, it will come to you. And I guess when it does come, it just gives you the drive to achieve whatever you need to at that time. And as a young person, like again, as I said, I have to remember these things because now it's hard when you're in London and the world, the city is telling you, hey, bills, rent, all this stuff. Like it's
yeah,
easy to get lost in the sauce of it all. But sometimes you have to sit and remember that, go back to when everything was pure and you were literally just obsessed with the idea that when you step into a studio, the world just goes quiet. Like, remember that feeling because it's so important. And if you were able to be a vessel for it then, when it was less serious, you're able to be a vessel for it now. Um, which,
you give
yeah.
me goosebumps now because yeah,
Yeah.
that's absolutely true. That's so true. Yeah, we forget about that, and I can understand. The life in London is not. It's not just roses. It's a difficult life because it's like you say, you have to pay the bills, and it's an expensive city to be in, and also the competition, of course.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, competition. Yeah, which is sad because we always tell stories about connection, but then our realities are sometimes different, which is quite sad. But yeah, that's one of the obstacles we have. Sure.
But now coming from Zambia, you have uh, also, and African dancing that is also part of your culture and it's part of your background. Do you tap into that as well?
The only way I've tapped into it is working for choreographers who do that as their practice.
Mhm.
So I worked for someone called Alessandra Souton, who is she's half British and half Belgian and half Senegalese, I believe. And working for her just felt like second nature. Like the language is not the dance moves, because they'll
Yeah,
look at me and
yeah.
be like, Not too sure." The culture is the culture is in my body. It's in my bloodstream. So that was very natural to tap into. Where I find my identity within like African dance or just Africa in general is who I am as a person. And I keep using that word spirit, but the idea that dance is it's a blessing, and it's a way of life, and that way of life influences you to be a certain way. It influences you to be a go-getter. It influences you to be a person who cares about people, who loves people, who is in touch with their senses, who is in touch with spirituality, who is in touch with just, I don't know, this thing about no, dance is real. That's how
Mhm.
I tap into yeah, I'd say my culture, because it inspires me every day. It grounds me. um yeah, so less about the language, but the spirit is there.
Mm. Because African dancing is a lot about community, and it's a lot about celebration. So, um, it's a very natural. It's a very natural reaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's dialogue. I always say that it's about dialogue with anyone, people, or the world, or space and time. It's communication, and if I'm coming from a place that everything is um, about celebrating life or celebrating events or celebrating people, then it means that I'm not a singular. I'm not by myself. I'm always talking to people or reminding people or being there for people. So that's a huge part of what I do now, or just what I base my work on. This is a dialogue. This is us talking. It just happens to look like this. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
No, but it is dancing. I mean, it's dancing is a way of speaking with your body. I mean, this is an art form that I always thought about. It's a art form that there's no speaking involved, there's no singing involved. So you used your whole body and your energy to tell the story.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's beautiful because also it kind of has not kind of it dance also has its limitations as well. Like it's not theater, it's not acting where you can use words to really articulate and get your point across. This one is its limitations is it either has to borrow, not either has to borrow, but it can borrow from other art forms. Or if you choose to just do dance by itself, the audience has to do the other 50%. They have to work harder to understand it. And that means they can't be lazy. And you can work all you want to make your dance so intricate and understandable, but the audience have to do work too. So that means you're not in charge of the whole 100%, if that makes sense, the whole picture. And I love that because then you work within bounds and you enjoy your portion in the world. Dance is a portion of the whole, art kind of whatever this is.
Yeah.
I love that I have a part in the world. I don't think dance is the be all and end all. I don't think it's the best or whatever. I think it's a very significant part of a whole, and that's what I really love about our language.
That's so true what you're saying about the audience as well. And I thought over lockdown, I thought to myself, dancers, you get all the different art forms, but in other art forms, people can very much do their own thing. Like a singer can go on stage and sing, but dancers really need other dancers. You need you're very much connected with each other to produce something. I'm not saying somebody can't dance alone, but I'm saying that I think you, as dancers, you always have to be part of this community or a group.
Yeah, I totally agree with that completely.
But so choreography, how did you discover, or was this also something that you always had in your mind that you can create this dance or that you can communicate through dance?
Yeah, choreography. As I said before, like in primary school, I was already making the dances to take that.
Okay, yeah.
When I got to high school, I was doing the big, I went to what do you call it, a Catholic school. So we had our mass events, and I was allowed to put on stuff at mass. So I would make dances for that with my crew. And then when I was lucky enough to get into the Rambert School, and there they just promote creativity and creating and making work. So as soon as you arrive in first year, you're allowed to make a work in December, and then make a work in March, and then make a work in May. This continual just creation process. So once I got into the rhythm of that, I was like, okay, well, this makes sense for me. I like dancing, but I also like this thing where I'm asking dancers to interpret what's within me. That's cool. Why don't I just set up a company? And this was I knew I was always going to do it. I had this idea in my head from really young that I wanted the company. And so when I got to my third year at Rambert, I was like, yeah, it's time. And I just,
Wow, so soon. So you already then established your company.
yeah, for sure. Like I knew that's where I was going. Also, like I love to study about the greats. I love the Sidi Labis, the Akram Khans, the Wayne McGregors. I said, look, I want my piece too. I want to tell stories too. I want to collaborate with people. I've got a lot of energy to give. So when it comes to the time where I'm free from school and I have to make it on my own, let me start now. Why not?
Mm. It's interesting that you say that and that you're talking about the great choreographers. Yesterday, I spoke to a composer, and she was also talking about studying the greats. You know, studying the artists that came before you, or that the big artists, the big composers that came before. So very interesting that you also acknowledge that you realize that's the starting point from where they are, that you develop then.
Yeah, I think that's an important part of every like young artist's development. I think right now it's quite tough because my generation don't like to study. We don't like to know what came before because our generation is really about self. It's about my expression. But sometimes if you don't have, not sometimes, all times if you don't have foundation, then it's very hard for your work to last or to have meaning for people. And it doesn't mean that people should, open a book like this
No,
and
I know what you mean. Yeah.
but there's this funny thing that me and my best friend, he's called Anthony Matsena, another fellow choreographer of mine in our industry, sorry. And we used to learn as much as we can from YouTube, and we always say YouTube is our best teacher because when
I'm
we were
with
not,
you on that one. Yeah.
it's amazing. What a tool that is! Like I'd say that's the best
Exactly.
tool
No, absolutely. Yeah.
ever. We used to like when we were not in the studio and he went to the place at the same time as I was at Rambert. When we were not working at school, we would be in a studio together or separately, just like watching Wayne McGregor. Oh wait, listening to Wayne McGregor talk because this man can sell you anything. You know the idea of selling you a pen. This guy can do it all. But the best bit about it was he was able to articulate what was in his mind. Now that's a very special tool that we thought we needed to have. And then he would also then articulate and demonstrate on his dancers. Um, wow, okay, cool. How do we learn how to do that? And then you had Forsyth, who then had his technologies, and he made this website with, breaking down how he makes his work or how he interprets dance and ballet and neoclassical. Wow. Okay. Cool. And then you have the Martha Grahams and all this kind of like spirituality, but in these very formal shapes and this ancient kind of position. Wow. Like you know, it was almost, if we missed the mark of studying, we wouldn't be who we are today, if that makes sense. And it's not to
Yeah.
say that we are big people, whatever, but it's like who I am today is in kind of direct, uh, how do I say? It's an effect of that study.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that because when I create, it doesn't come from myself. It's not me. It is, oh well, I've been obsessed with Martha Graham. So the next work I'm gonna make is gonna kind of like touch on topics that she was studying when she was younger and she was making. Let me try that because if that system worked for her, then maybe I should listen to her. you know?
Yeah, and exactly, and wonderful that they shared it in the first place, and the other that you are able to, or that you are open to learn from that, and then take that information and use the way you see things and make something new of it.
Yeah, totally. I love what we do.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, Kennedy, that is brilliant. It's so interesting that yesterday this film composer, she talked about the same thing, and I thought the whole time after we spoke, I thought, yes, wow, amazing. That makes total sense what she's saying, and you also now confirm that. That's always amazing for me if I speak to artists and the same message comes out, and yeah. But now creating is one thing, and that you can do, but then you have to sell your work, and then you have to get out there, and you have to be confident that this is something worth for somebody to put on the stage.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other side of it, right? That's the hard bit. And I guess where I'm at in my career right now, I'm still very early into it. So I'm still learning how to, promote myself and get myself out there and get my work on stage, which I've been lucky to do so far in places that have been, very beautiful and very welcoming and, very enabling. But there's still obviously a while to go, or steps to take. But I'd say, yeah, there's definitely had to be a confidence element to it. You have to be confident that your work has a voice and your interpretation is worth something people investing in. Because I like to think about art being this spirit. If you have really asked it for for help and to kind of interpret, and I'm talking about dance, like asking dance for help, which sounds weird, but I really see it that way. If you've really asked it for help and it's giving you these movement qualities and this language that you're like, hey guys, try this out, and people like it, and you like it, and you're like, okay, let's get this on stage, then you have to be confident about that. You have to trust yourself and hope that someone out there benefits from it. Uh,
I'm tired.
yeah. So
And that's so important that you see it that way, because interestingly, I heard a podcast the other day about confidence and value. That you can be confident, but if you don't see your work as value, then the confidence, it's two separate things. But you're saying now that you can understand that how much this could impact somebody else, so you understand the value of your work, so that's why you can, it's easier to put it out there.
yeah, completely, yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And I guess also at the stage, one not hindrance, but what I'm finding really difficult at the moment, as let's say a young artist, is I'm still ripening into my voice. So
Okay,
every
yeah.
year that goes by, I learn something new about myself, or I learn something new about the process, or something knocks me back, but then I bounce back. There's a lot going on, which then can be reflected in what my language looks like, or maybe I touch on another medium medium like film or script writing or something like that, and then I'm like, oh wow, and then that influences the language. There's so much change happening at the moment, so it's very hard to articulate to, let's say, someone like a producer or like theaters what you're trying to say, because yeah, I guess what people would say about me is Kennedy wants it all right now, and it's true. I do want it all.
I
Respect.
get you. I totally get you.
Give me those 3 months in the studio.
Yeah.
I want it all. But more, I'm understanding why. It takes time for people to really
Yeah.
get into their voice. And most choreographers, past 30, that's when they actually, get into the rhythm of things. And I'm like, wow, okay, I had these thoughts at 21, but now I'm 26, and I definitely needed that time. And I'm pretty sure if I got, let's say, the opportunity to have now at 22, it wouldn't have been the same. And it's not to say that that work wouldn't have had value, because maybe it would have had value for the work that it was at that time. However, now I feel like I'm in a better place to say clearer what is inside. So yeah, that's my biggest challenge is this ever changing kind of my voice being like, oh, what about that? What are we?
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
But I believe it's important to go through that, to try and figure out all these things. And I think it takes time. And for me as a photographer as well, it's the past years have really, at times when things were slow and I couldn't understand why, and I realized, but because that was not really the path that I'm supposed to go in. So I think sometimes it doesn't work because not that you're not good in what you're doing, but that's not the path that you're supposed to do. So, it can be, I don't know, I try and assure myself in that way. So then you start figuring out other things, and then you start thinking, okay, yeah, but this is more of how I want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally hear that. You gotta study yourself. You get time to study yourself in your journey and be like, okay, yeah, that wasn't one. I thought it was at the time, but yeah.
Yeah, and everything happens at the right time. That's also something that I truly believe in.
Yeah.
But now, you talked about the videos you saw about how to communicate, or because you have your idea in your head, and I'm sure it's all planned out in the head, and you can see it happening. But how do you get that across to the dancer so that you really get what you are envisioning?
Yeah. Well, what comes to mind is when I was a dancer, I used to dance for Akram Khan Company. So I was touring a solo called Chota Zenos, which was like the family version of Akram's last solo, Big Zenos. And what that company was really great at was having people who really understood the assignment. They knew exactly what the texture was. They knew what the count was. They knew what the intention was. Like, it was very clear, because Akram is about storytelling. In his later years anyway, he became very storytelling heavy. So I think what I took from that was this idea of being very articulate in a way that you're very clear to people about what it is that you need them to do. or need them to feel or search for. And that's tapped a lot into my teaching, where I've really tried to focus on the person that's in front of me. If a choreographer doesn't see who's in front of them, there is a huge wall that gets built. And what happens is that you start talking to each other, but as if you're facing away from each other, and then we just pretend we're looking at each other. I don't know how to
I
make it.
understand what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And so oftentimes when I would not be clear enough and I'd see my dancers panic, I know for a fact it's because I wasn't very clear about what I was saying. So every time I'm with my dancers, I make sure that I know what their bodies are doing. I've become very attuned to the physical body of a dancer. So oftentimes I'd say stuff like, I know you're leaning into your big toe when you should be putting your weight on the end on your last two toes,
Okay.
and making sure that your knee is rotated out. Just let's say for a certain movement or a certain dynamic they need to hit. So I've become very attuned to their body. At the same time, sensation too, because me being a dancer, I know what it would feel like or what the sensation should be to kind of access, again, let's say a movement. So I'm very in tune with sensation. So if a dancer is more inclined to understanding sensation, I have to make sure I'm aware of that and I can articulate this idea that's in my head.
She loves it when Max does. So be gentle with her. She loves it when Max does. Yeah, what does she be needing the whole time from Max? Offer it to her from level. And slowly you can't sustain the form that long. So you break down, it's your last chance to get her, so you take her down. You take her down. Maybe you accept it. Nice.
In a sensation. Or if they respond to just choreography, just body, then I have to do the work to be like, you know what, let me again use this idea I have in my head, let me articulate it for the body, or someone that focuses learns better through just dance. So yeah, this idea of just communicating with my dancers, it's about loving them and loving people and knowing people and seeing them. And I remember there's been times where choreographers haven't seen me. An example being, I was dancing with someone who, let's say, was Sri Lankan, and I'm an African man. I've got an African body, and Sri Lankans are sometimes much smaller in bone density to ourselves. Now, if we're doing the same moves like that, something like this, it might look the same, sure, but it definitely feels differently. So if I'm, let's say, going through a bit of a struggle with the movement, and I ask the rehearsal director and I say, or the choreographer, and I say, hey, could you help me with this? If they can't make a distinction between two different bodies in space and then do the extra work to figure out how I could maybe adjust it, or how I could kind of solve it, then I think you've missed the mark. And again, that goes to that sentence I said about loving people. You have to know people and know bodies, because then what happens is we're doing the same language, sure, but there's definitely a niggle that's happening to me that might not be happening to this other person, because maybe their body is more versatile to to embody that movement. So I've made it my mission. Sorry, my answer is a bit long, but I've made it.
No, but totally, I can understand that. And you, as a dancer, the dancer feels that energy then from the choreographer. That sort of, okay, but how do I figure this out? And I can imagine that you then you make the dancer confused.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the dialogue part we spoke about earlier on. Again, even if it's not the work we're talking about, even just the communication between the choreographer and the artist, like, it's all dialogue. And if you can't figure out stuff like that in the smallest of scenarios, then it's, those small assignments lead up to big assignments, and you have problems later on. So it's definitely so important for for, let's say, a choreographer like myself to pay attention to those things.
But I spoke to a composer once, and he told me that when he started composing, he wrote everything in pencil, all the notes. He didn't use the computer. And then the first time the orchestra played, it was for him so beautiful, to actually see what he's written down, that comes to life. So do you have that same experience when you do the choreography and suddenly there's the performance and you can see what you envisioned that came true?
Yeah, totally. Even when you just said that now, like I'm also getting goosebumps. I can feel that now. Just something coming to life, something you've worked on and you've believed to be um, of value, and it just has a life of its own. And you can sit back and just kind of adore. Wow, oof. There's no
Yeah.
better feeling, and that's why I've enjoyed the choreographic side, because I enjoy it just as much as dancing. It gives me the same pleasure, um, and also seeing someone, trusting someone to do your work also, and to interpret your work, like that's a blessing. That's someone is kind enough to say, okay, these are your ideas, let me see what I can do to help you. That's, without saying the words but doing it with their body. That's incredible. I think that's such a blessing, and the rest of the world they can't experience that. They can't experience that
But
sensation.
I imagine that when the dancers enjoy the choreography, then that must also mean something to you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I guess you always want them to, because
Yeah.
dance should be good. It should be, or art in general, it should always be good. So or helpful, or yeah. It shouldn't hurt the artist or the people watching. That's what I believe anyway. So we aim for them to enjoy
Yeah.
it.
But Kennedy, I see on your website that you work with set designer as well.
Yeah, so Mathilde Hugh. She's brilliant. She's great. We worked on a project together called Greater Than Lion, which was performed in Wiltshire almost 2 years ago now, actually. But she's amazing. She's someone who I said, hey, I have this story in my head. I want to make some things. And she says, okay, let me hear you talk about it. She likes to get into the nitty gritty, even the stuff that would just, come out of my mouth with
Yeah.
no relevance to the work, but she's there for it, and she goes away and then she comes back with all these brilliant ideas. And yeah, she loves dance too, so it always helps when someone loves what you do, because then you don't have to do so much work in convincing them that it's worth their time. They already want to be there, and she's definitely someone who is.
Amazing. But it's because that made me also think that it's because it's such a collaboration, because the set design and the costumes and the makeup and the everything that goes together with making this choreography and making the dance then what it is, the story that it's telling. And the set design, it also adds to the story.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Um, I am obsessed currently with Grotowski, who's a theatre practitioner from back in the heyday, and he's all about poor theatre. So like reducing as much as you can and just
Okay.
relying on the art on theatre or acting. And that's been something that's been really important to myself. But when me and, let's say, Mathilde talk, it's about, what do I say? It's not about reducing like what's on stage, but it's like really making sure what's on stage is so crucial to the work. So the dancers are also forced to interact with whatever she puts on stage. We're not borrowing for glamour. We're not borrowing for the show, the lights, because sometimes choreographers say, oh, this section will look better when the lights are added to it. That's crazy. No one should ever say that. Oh, they say, oh, when the music is made for this part, it's going to be so much better. That's wild. I think, like, for, let's say, the dance should be made in such a way that if you were to take everything away, it should still have a voice. I think it should still say something, unless your work is a work of pure collaboration between let's say, lights and movement. If it's 50-50 like that, there is that type of work, and that's perfect. But I think if, for myself, I really work really hard on making that dance something that is not perfect, but perfect in its limitation. And then someone like Mathilde would then come in, or another collaborator, a designer or something would come in, and they would do their part just as well. So if we remove the dance and just put the set on stage, that could be also something to be enjoyed. But now we come together, both have gone 100%, and then you have this really beautiful collaboration where you don't rely on the other person; they're there with you. It's necessary that they're there. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's so interesting. Yesterday, also, this composer talked about. She went to a composer's in like a museum. I cannot remember if it was Puccini or who the composer was, but she went into the room, like the museum of his house, and went into the room, and there were only 2 chairs and a little desk. And she said, and that's all, and a little bookshelf or something. But she said she got totally the feeling that she was transported into another world. And for her, it was so strange that it was just the 2 chairs and a little desk, and still it was so powerful, and it touched her so much. And exactly what you're saying now. I mean, it could be a chair on the stage, and that could say something.
Yeah, totally. I know this feeling too. So yeah, agreed.
Amazing, yeah. No, but it's true what you're saying also, that the dance should always stand on its own, and be the story, and then the rest. Well, the rest also components, but the dance it should be able to stand on its own.
It should. I think that's a must, and I'm not afraid. I used to be afraid to say that because some creators would be like, "Wait, no, what do you mean?" Like, no,
Yeah.
you're just not doing enough work. That's it. And it's that thing of studying and knowing knowing the limitation of what you do. Sometimes we're afraid of the limitations of dance. That's what scares people. That we want people to think dance is like this absolute, like, you should like it because it's so. Yeah, of course, but you can't force people to not fully understand, and that's why in its abstractness, that's its power. If you shy away from that, if you shy away from someone not quite getting it, you really miss the point, and it means you won't get to exercise the fullness of that limitation, if that makes sense. And I've really tried my hardest to with my I have a creative associate called Jessica Chambers, and we really focus on being like, okay, what's the most we can get out of this scene, these steps? What's the most we can do? Are these steps right? Do they need more? Do they need less? When we finally get to a place where we're like, okay, comfortable with it, we're like, okay, that's enough. It can't be more. Especially who we are as people today, it can't be more than that. And for us, that's great. And yeah, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you revisit parts again? Do you go back and think, okay, no, I don't want this anymore, or that you on one stage think this, you have a feeling about something, but then a week later you think, no, this is not doing the same for me anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, within a process, that's definitely that's definitely occurred. I'm not yet at the stage where I have multiple weeks of rehearsal and I can at leisure go
Okay.
back. However, I guess one thing I'm very inspired by is we're in a very different time now. You had your Matt Sex and your Yuri Killians and your Ohad Naharins, where they were always with the company. So that means your dancers who had been there for 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, every single day they get to practice a language. So that means the choreographer gets to revisit stuff on a daily basis. Now, with what's going on in the industry now, you don't, as a choreographer, you don't have that privilege. You're at a company for at most a month, 2 months if you're one of the top. And then if you're a freelance choreographer who's maybe less recognized, you're at a company at most 2 weeks, 2-week residency. So you don't have the privilege to revisit stuff all the time, which is a shame because it's in revisiting stuff that you get a chance to try again. So I think as an industry, we should do better to help choreographers get that chance, the same way writers do it, the same way filmmakers do it. They have time, and time is very important. It can really help you find stuff. And yeah, I would really love that for my future to be something that is of space and time to reflect and practice and getting things wrong a lot. And yeah, hopefully trying to, yeah,
Yeah, now I understand what you mean. But you're working also now with ballet nights.
Yeah, so yeah, Jamil is a good friend of mine. We've worked together for maybe a good year or two now. He's hosted one of my evenings at his beautiful, beautiful studio, and I've been involved in ballet nights before. So this is my third time now, and we're going to be doing the Ministry of Sound event.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's he's someone who is a very exciting person. He loves to just do new things and just to be like, he hears an idea and he's just like, yeah, let's do it. What do we need? What should I do? What can I make happen?
Amazing. Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
love that project, and I think it's amazing what he's doing. I think it's so needed, that dance is being brought so close up to people.
Yeah, totally. That's how it should be. Like we're in a new generation, so we have to figure out what our legend is. What's our portion? What's our story? What's our myth?
Exactly.
And like people like himself who are trying to figure that out because we're on the cusp. What's coming next?
Yeah, but I love also that he talks about the dance. That he gets up and he talks, because I think sometimes it's if we know something or if there's a little story behind it, you immediately see it in a different way.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's super super important. I think he does that very well. He stands at the forefront and he doesn't shy away from being like, this is a great artist and this is their work, this is their premiere, and this is like some people might call that cheesy or whatever, but he's doing the work.
Yeah. No, I think it's needed, and I think it's for the audience it makes you then inquisitive, and it makes you interested in the person or wanting to know more. I for myself, I know sometimes musicians talk about a composer and about work that they've studied of a certain composer, and then I think afterwards I think, hey, I want to go and listen to it, because the way they talk about it and the passionate way they talk about it, it makes you more inquisitive. Otherwise you sometimes don't even know about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it's story, someone's story. Yeah, it helps you attach. You want to know, you want to find out, you want to be a part of it. Yeah, so I agree.
Well, now that I know your story as well, Kennedy, I am a big fan.
Thank you so much. Another one.
I'm going to go on YouTube and look for you everywhere.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, hey, I've got my Kennedy Muntanga Dance Theatre page on YouTube. Check it out.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely do that. I'm going to follow you there so that I see what you're up to, and also follow each other. This is what's so amazing of social media on Instagram and everywhere, so that you know what people are doing, and then you understand also, after you've heard the story, then it gives a personality to the page and to what the people are doing. So I love that.
Yeah, no, yeah. Also just you created such like a permissible environment for me to actually, just be. It's that word you used, seeing my work as valuable, and I said you caught me off guard. You really did. I was like, wow, someone wants to know about what I do. Okay, sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I thought that was very special. So I'm very grateful. You've given me new wind.
Oh, really? I'm very happy about that. Yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, I've spoken to many artists, and many wonderful artists come on my way, and And I think you are one of them. And I think really your story is so amazing, and your outlook. This is what I always find so interesting, the outlook of people and how they see the art and how they, they express themselves in that way. But yeah, your work is definitely very valuable.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Kennedy, but tell me now, what are the wishes for the future?
The wishes for the future. It might sound crazy, but
Nothing is crazy. You have to listen. I've heard of many people who made wishes here on my channel, and their wishes came true. So go for it.
okay. I won't hold back. Okay. My wish for the future is, like, I really want to help, like, heal our industry. So I've done a lot of teaching and a lot of hanging around people to hear so many stories that we're so disconnected from one another, especially in London. And again, with that thing of, we always make art about connection. We're always saying these things about connecting and loving one another and expression and celebration. However, the realities of, let's say, the average dancer, the one who just graduated from school, doesn't know about anyone else. They see the big shows. They go to the shows and they go to the classes, and we meet on the road. But there is no true, I believe anyway, and I know there's work happening. There's people doing this already, but there's no kind of real kind of source of information or a gathering of people who know one another in our industry. And I would love to be a part of a movement that brings people together like that. And how I see this kind of happening is through, if science and mathematics can be having conferences, and inviting talkers here, there, left, right, and center, and people look forward to these things every year. I don't see why we can't be having those things. I don't see why, someone who is in their second year of Rambert cannot say out of their own mouth, "Oh, I can't wait for the Sadler's Wells conference next year because Akram Wayne or Alessandra are coming to do a talk on certain topics that I'm trying to figure out as a young person, as a young choreographer, or as a young dancer." I know it happens, let's say, at Sally's Wells, you have, what's that event? It's a hip hop event, and they take over the whole building, and there's talks and performances and on this and this and this. In contemporary dance, we don't really have that. So then that means we're leaving a lot of our own people to just discover themselves. And if someone doesn't have the resources to go out and search, because it's really hard to study, it's really hard to be someone who goes out and get stuff. That stuff is difficult. So if you're just expecting everyone to do that, it's a very, you're damning them essentially. So I would love to be part of something that brings people together. I love choreography, I love dancing, but I love people more, and I love our industry for or our art form for what it really can do to the body, the soul, and the mind. And so I hope that we can kind of just help that and start that journey and make something special. That's my goal.
What a beautiful wish. And I think also many people step out of the dance world just because they are lost, just because they feel, well, nobody notices me, or I'm not connected with anybody, so what's the use of me carrying on?
Oh, sorry, I just lost you for a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I heard you.
Yeah, so I'm saying that maybe that's why some people step out of the dance world, because they feel lost, and they don't have that sort of support and I don't know, this together feeling, and everybody thinks, oh, I'm battling my own battle.
Yeah, for sure. And if what we do truly is about community, then it that word, we have to really investigate what that word means, because it doesn't mean just community as in, oh, I'm going to teach a class to the community. That's how we hear it sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, I teach classes to the community. I make work for the community. But there's the community of creators, and there's a community of practitioners, and the community of dancers. Like, we are a people in ourselves, and we need to look after each other. We need to help each other, educate each other, discern with one another, not just be these kind of self-proclaimed intellectual geniuses making work for who and for what. That's a very, I think, sorry to use this word, but very soulless venture. I couldn't imagine making a work and premiering it at Salah's Wells, and I have then my Tuesday night VIP drinks, and I know no one in the audience. Especially the ones who are in my industry. I know none of them are there because they just don't, we're not together like that. That's really scary to me. And the fact that choreographers can also be so disconnected to, let's say, institutions, it also puzzles me too. And I know Rambert are doing a great job, because like Akram is now kind of collaborating with them and they're doing something together. But the fact that a school can be nurturing choreographers, but then the ones who are out there doing work aren't involved in the institutions and kind of passing on the information and the knowledge, that perplexes me. It really frustrates me. And, even just practitioners, like, teach people how to teach. Like, these things are so important. And, we need to come together. It's almost like I sound like I want to put everything under one umbrella.
No, but no, but I understand what you mean, because I think sometimes dancers, they promote themselves because they think, somebody needs to see me, or, you get this idea on Instagram or social media, see what I can do, or see how perfect my technique is. And then it misses the point, really, because it's about community, and it's about getting together and doing it as a group, or I don't know how to explain it to you, but I understand what you mean. You want people not to feel they need to, I don't know, boast about themselves, but rather to say, look, here's a community of people who support each other, who build, rather than I having to do it myself, there's a community that helps me to build me up and to lift me up a little bit.
Exactly. And the scariest part of that is that might leave room, and this is where I think our industry gets scared. Maybe not scared, but like, I feel like it's an obstacle for us, where we might feel that might get in front of our, let's say, voice or our artistry. Because again, remember, it's about the self now. Our generation is about us, but young people, because we're battling against competition, we're battling against the internet, we're battling against, a lack of jobs in the industry. So everything has become very selfish. Now, if then I'm making a work about the community, and then the process I take is a selfish one, we've already made a mistake. And where I not put the blame, but where I see where we miss the mark is this kind of intergenerational communication, where my friend who, let's say, is 10 years older than me, who her mission when she graduated school was, I'm going to dance for Mark Baldwin at the Rambert Dance Company for 10 years. There is no way you're ever going to hear anyone in my generation say that, because it's not a reality. There's no way a dancer can dance in a company for 10 years. There's too many choreographers, there's too much work, there's too many new voices. You want to move about, you want to be free. So we have to now understand how to help each other navigate our ever-changing language. Do you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
And navigate that in a good way and in a positive way, in a helpful way. The obstacle I was talking about was this idea of like discernment. It might feel that, you're gonna look at my work and you're gonna say it's not good or whatever. No, that's not the case. I feel like we need to come together to help people navigate their voice and refine it, so then we actually know what you're trying to say. You're not just pushing out work to us for us to now understand, because I shouldn't judge. No, we want to help you speak. So speak. And as you said, you want to know the choreographer's story and all these things. We can help people do this. And it starts with this intergenerational kind of coming
And
together.
it will help. It will help people not be stuck. Not be stuck in a place where they, because I think dancers do get stuck. They do get stuck because maybe they're not recognized by a director, or they're not recognized by the choreographers, and then they immediately pull back and think, okay, well, I'm not good enough. But it's not that. It's just that at that specific point in your career, those people around you are not the people to value you.
Yeah, completely. And sorry to keep adding.
No, please do. I love it.
Great. When I was with Akram Khan Company, I chose to leave the company after dancing with them for a little bit. And it wasn't to do with me not liking it or whatever, but I definitely felt this idea of like something is off. I always said I wanted to make my company, and I have it right there, but I'm doing something else. Something's off, and I'm in the studio, and I'm wondering, why am I fantasizing about my rehearsal director's role while I'm dancing my bit? And at the time, as a young person, that would have come across in maybe a not so nice way. Maybe it made me look maybe lazy or whatever. But I was just always just fantasizing, like listening to the words that they were saying, practicing those words at home, pretending my company were in front of me. I was doing these things, but there was no one there to help me navigate those feelings, to help me just figure out how to figure out that place wasn't the right place. And that's why I had to, luckily from with my own initiative, I chose to it came from quitting. I quit. I said, okay, I'm not going to do this because I know that I'm not giving my 100%. That was my reason. But actually what my true reason was no, I just want that role. Like that role looks amazing, but I just don't know how to get there. Now I feel like if we had a community that was like, oh, okay, we understand who you are, let's help you kind of get there.
Yeah,
It would have been a really nice transition. So yeah, we need to heal.
Yeah. And also, you sometimes find in the music industry where in classical music, for example, the teachers will help the students or get the students in a concert with them or something like that, or give them opportunities. But how much is that in the dance industry, where a choreographer would see a potential in somebody and say, hey, come on board with me, let's work together, or let me, that you're sort of an apprentice of this choreographer.
Do you not find that crazy? How that doesn't happen. And there's been so many times that my brother Anthony would say, just message Sidi Labi and ask to shadow him. Message Kim Branstrup and just shadow him. Like, what's stopping you from doing these things? And it's completely true. What is stopping me? But what if that was just a natural thing anyway?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I guess people can argue with that saying time, but no, I don't think that's the issue. I don't think it's that bad for someone to just sit, and study your process in the space, and have that as a thing. Like, help us,
Yeah.
help us, because it's this thing that we're doing. It's really royal. It's really intense and powerful. So that means not you can't just grab it and roll the dice and dish it out to the community and say, here, take. No, that's dangerous. You really have to take care of this thing we call dance, because when it's done right, it has very, very substantial effects on people. It can really change people's life.
Absolutely.
And I always use the first reason of when we were younger, and when you left the studio, that kind of want and need to get back into the studio the next day, that power as a young person, we need to remember that. Because when I left, I remember I would leave, I would do my whole day at this musical theatre school, and then I would go on to Phoenix Dance Theatre and do my training until the evening. and I would get home at like 10. And this is me at 15 years old, right?
Mm.
And just like many other young people, they spend hours in the studio, and I would count the hours before I could be back in that space
Mm.
again. I would, homework didn't matter. They didn't matter. I just wanted to stand in that studio again. Now that power or just that pull, that's a very intense thing. So if you can remember that, then you can definitely realize that what we do can potentially, you know, supernaturally
Absolutely.
affect another person that way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is so interesting that I spoke to a dancer in Tanzania. I can't remember his name now, but I did the interview with him, and what really struck me is that he trains other dancers to go out in the community and to again train children, and they even work at orphanages. They work
Mm.
with disabled people, but they, you know, he trains them because that gives them the opportunity to also go out and earn some money. So but they stay together in this company, you know. So and I thought how beautiful that one man with nothing. I mean, and it's not as if, you know, it's a very poor community. He sometimes doesn't even, like you say, mostly have 2 meals a day, but he sees to it that he looks after his dancers. He makes sure that they get paid, that they have money, and still he goes out and without any financial gain, he goes and teaches dance at the orphanages, at the disabled uh, communities, and lift, you know, uplift children who can't pay, who can't even, you know, like you said, they can't even afford ballet shoes or leotards. And that, to me, that is the power of dance. You know, that one man can use dance to do so much. You know, to build up so many people, or give opportunities to so many people. And this is really what it's about. You know, the art form.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I would also just say that that's the beginning of dance. That is how it
Mm.
should be. Um, if we here in the West adopted that mentality, and I know it's not the
Exactly.
same thing, but
Mm.
if we or same conditions, but if we adopted that belief that this thing that we do can be used for more than what we see with just this one sense, our eyes, we could really transform our communities. If we can empower people to not just believe that they could be a dancer or just a choreographer, but be someone who aids choreographers, or someone who could aid dancers, or
Exactly.
someone who could create opportunities for young people to experience dancing this place and this place and that place. You know, these in between parts that add to the whole of dance. It's incredible. It's using it as a vehicle again to go back to this idea of just goodness. Art should always be good. Dance should always be good. So like this man is a, and I think I saw him. I saw this interview you did with him on your page. Um, I think he's a great example of this, because that's someone who loves people, and he uses
Absolutely.
that vehicle to love people. That's incredible. You know,
Yeah,
we should.
I know exactly. It really, it touched me so much to think, you know, that he said sometimes he just have 2 meals a day, but still he goes out and he makes sure, you know, he said he makes sure that everybody gets either paid, or that they, you know, he makes sure, and he also makes sure that the children who can't afford it, that they are able to still come. He drives out and he picks them up to come to the dance, because they don't even have transport to come. And you think, and that also made me think how one person can change so many lives by something that we think is so simple, but it's just, you know, and you don't need much. You need your body. You have your body, you know, so it's not as if you have to buy an instrument to do it. So you have the instrument already. So yeah, I think that's wonderful. But this is also why I think dancing in schools is so important, and more children should be able to get that opportunity. There's a lovely dance teacher. Um, I get so cross if I forget the names, but lovely dance teacher who goes out to the schools in the UK and she teaches dance. She takes the curriculum and she tries to incorporate that in the dance, and how wonderful she does that. And you also think, this is um, give people time to do that and give her support to do that, because she goes out to the schools and approaches them, and that's what it's about then, I think.
Completely. And it's a shame because here in the UK, times are always just moving forward, and I'm not delusional to the point that I think we could really force everyone to love it. It's not going to happen. So as dancers, we have to find a way to almost not rebrand, that's the wrong word to use, but almost kind of like find where we could connect with people. And I think for this lady who then does her part, her portion, and goes out and does this work, that's amazing. And we need people to not only just affect the education system. And this is where I feel like I want my legacy to be as well, is that not only are we infiltrating the education system, getting young people to connect to their bodies again, which is a natural thing. They played outside, but now how do we get them to play in school, because they won't be doing it at home? So we need to get them to figure that stuff out, or else we're damning them to bad health.
Yeah.
But the same thing for, let's say, like someone like my mum. She works in the NHS. She's a nurse, and she's standing for 12 hours a day. She comes home, and the one thing I hear her say is, "Oh, my knee," when she's walking up the stairs. Now she's only 50 years old, and how can my mum, who's 50 years old, be complaining about going? Fair enough. She's a little bit tired and she works really hard, but like there is definitely ways that I think I could help. If I love dance and I'm moving my body and seeing the benefits of it, what could I be doing to share what I know with someone as close as my mom, or someone, our nurses, those who work jobs that are just like intense on the spine, intense on the body. What could truly, if we got people together, what could we do to rebrand our? Because people, I think it's dance. I think that's the word people get confused by, because they think steps, they think choreography, they think this.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's movement.
Just movement, exactly. This idea of just interpreting physics.
Yeah, but that goes back to African dance. So you put on music or they hear music and they move, and there's no choreography really. Some people just move immediately when the music starts. Then it's that movement. And but I went to a school in South Africa a while ago, and I witnessed how a teacher took a group of, I think it was about 100 students. I don't think any of them had dance background, but she took them and she divided them in groups, and she said each group she gave them a piece of music and they had to do the choreography on that music themselves. And even without any dance background, these youngsters, they did their piece of choreography, and then afterwards she got them all together again, and she put all these bits and pieces together. The movements they did was literally things that I think they see on television, or these like hip hop movements and so on. But still, she gave them the opportunity, and they put it all together. And within 2 hours, they put the whole dance together. And I thought, how amazing. And they loved it, and it wasn't perfect. I mean, you can see they're not dancers, but how incredible that they have the ability to do that, and that they had those creative ideas to be able to put that together.
That sounds perfect to me.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
More of that, I say.
Yes, please. I'll be there in the crowd.
That's it. And get your mum, because she can do her moves there at the NHS and get all those ladies to get together.
She's already doing it. I think I
Oh,
started
is it?
training her. Yeah, I started training her, just doing like stuff to help her back, and just a bit of movement. And we
Yeah.
then moved into the gym. So now she's feeling comfortable enough to move her body. I kind of do like stuff inspired by boxing. So I'll hover over her head like this, and she has to duck and use her quads and use her legs, just to kind of just work her muscles a little bit. And I'll go under her legs with swooping motions, and she has to lift her hip. She has to work the hip flexors
Yeah.
and so on. And now she does that. She goes to work, and at 5 a.m.
Wow.
in the morning or 3 a.m. in the morning, when some of the ladies are on their break, she's like, "Hey guys, should we try this together?"
But
Oh,
you
she's gonna get a
see,
video. Incredible.
how it just what do you say? It just magnifies, or it's addictive, or not? No. What do you say? What's the word? It sort of spreads like uh,
Contagious.
contagious.
I,
It shouldn't be germs that spread. It should be dancing.
it should be dance, yeah. I'd
Make it
happily
a
pass away
virus.
doing that. Yeah. Oh, I've caught the dance.
Yeah. I got the dance virus at the NHS.
That's a good way to go for me. That's a good way
That's
to
it, yeah.
go.
Well, Kennedy, this was so great to talk to you.
And you
And
too.
all the best with all your work. And I'm sure your dream will come true 100%, because everything you've done in the past, I can see the passion, and I can see that you achieve what you want to achieve. And really, such a great story, such an inspiring story. And I'll still be following you and seeing all the wonderful things you're doing.
Thank you so much, Petra. Honestly, I really loved this talk. It was brilliant. It's made me smile. It's made me get ready to just, I don't know, sit down and do more.
Oh, that's great.
I feel really great. So thank you
And
so much.
I also have a wish. So my wish is that you come to Vienna and that you get a chance to do your choreography here.
Oh, please help me. If you know anything, just let me know and I will be there.
The wish is out. The wish is out there. Yeah. Magic will happen, I'm sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, thank you so
Okay,
much.
Kennedy, then have a lovely afternoon.
And you too. And you too.
Okay.
I'm tired.
Can everyone lift their left arm in the air? Or if there's someone next to you, it's the arm that will touch them. Maybe people have to do two. You're just going to put weight into your friend's arm or hand. And you're just going to share your weight onto them. And then you're going to take their weight. And you're going to share yours. And they're going to take yours. And you take theirs. So just feeling that little shift of weight. That little shift of trust between you. One and then the other. Really put your weight in. The person will know if you're holding back. And you will know if they're holding back. Just building that trust. Building that comfortability. Able to say an idea. And they listen to you and they take it on. And then you do the same and you give it back. Just keep this going. It feels awkward for a bit. But I promise you it's exactly what we're doing. Now I want you just to squeeze their hand. It's quite a tight grip, not to hurt them, just tight. This means one idea, and you're going to keep the same shape, just loosen your grip. Same shape, different texture. It's exactly what we're doing. It's the same person, just different ideas. Thank you. This feels like a good idea. Yeah.